Welcome to Figure 8. Today we're going to be going through the video annotation tool, which is used for putting boxes around different elements found in a video. Right now what we're looking at is a still or a frame from a video, and down here we can see the total number of frames, which is 120. On the left we have our ontology, which is the list of things we're going to be looking for in this video. Now we can tell almost certainly there's not going to be any stingrays in this video, and there very likely won't be any bees. But we will have some adult elephants as well as some baby elephants. When we put our cursor over the word baby, or over the word element, we see there's a little bit of a hint here where it says a baby elephant is any elephant smaller than a full-grown elephant. So for the purposes of this tutorial, anything that looks kind of smaller than an adult, we're going to mark as a baby. You can also zoom in to make sure that the boxes that you draw are nice and neat. You can zoom back out, and this button actually lets you zoom all the way back out to the normal size. If you are zoomed in and you want to move around in the image, you can use the pan tool. So if we click that there, now when I click and hold, I can drag around and look at the different elephants without having to zoom back out. Once you draw or are going to draw a box, you'll want to undo the spacebar and select the right object. So I'm going to reframe this so it goes back here. I just want to remind everybody as well that since this is a tutorial showing you how to use the tool, it is very, very important that when you're working on an actual job for a customer or a task author on the Figure 8 platform, that you read the instructions very, very carefully. Every instruction set will be different because every task author is going to have different requirements and things that they need the contributors to do in their jobs. So for example, in this job, we have just two things we're going to be using, but it's very likely not going to be that in future jobs. So just be sure to read the instructions very carefully and understand the different nuances of what the customer might require. Why don't we get started? I'm going to start drawing some boxes. So on the first frame, we're going to have to draw boxes around all the elephants that we can see. But you'll see also as we move forward through the 120 frames that through machine learning predictions, the boxes will actually move with the elephants, and all we have to do is adjust them if they aren't still neatly around them. So I'm going to start by zooming in because I know that I want to make a nice neat box, and I'm going to go left to right. So I'll use the pan tool. And I'll pan over here. So we've got two elephants here. And I'm going to start by selecting adult elephant, or I'll start by unclicking this because I want to draw now. Elephant adult is selected, and I'm just going to draw a box around that elephant, just around the parts I can see. So the best way to think about this is you want to look at every single line in the box and make sure that it's flush with the animal. So this one looks pretty good. Let's just make sure to get a little bit closer. Down here looks good because it looks like the lowest piece that's visible is right here. Over here we can make it a little bit closer. And then here I think we need to make it a little bit higher. And there we go. That box is nice and neat. Now it looks like this elephant, because it has tusks, it appears to be partially grown, but I do think that it's probably not a fully grown elephant. So I'm actually going to click baby elephant here, because as the instructions indicate, it's anything smaller than full grown. And I'm going to draw a box around this elephant. So again, you want to look at all four sides and make sure that it's not too high or too low or too left or too right. It's just nice and flush on the animal. There we go. So one of the other tools you can use is you can actually hide the labels for certain images or certain elements or boxes. You would want to do this potentially if it's kind of in the way, if you're not able to see something because the label is in the way. You can only show for the selected class. Since we have baby elephant selected, that's going to hide the labels for anything that says adult elephant. You can also do selected shape, which is in this case going to be the same thing, but this would literally only be this box, even if there were multiple baby elephants boxed. And then finally you can do none, which would hide them completely. It's important to keep the labels as much as possible because as you'll see it when we move along with this, that you actually are going to be putting a different type of box or a different named box for every single elephant. While we only have two categories that we're using, adult and baby, you can see this says, let's see if we can get the labels back on here. This says adult elephant 2 and this says baby elephant 1. The reason this says 2 is because while I was setting up the tool, I practiced with one box, and that was labeled elephant 1. Even though I deleted the box, you'll still see that elephant 2 is going to be what the next box I make is named. So I'm going to move over here now, and there's some more elephants I'm going to want to annotate. It looks like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Thinking this one, even though it's a little farther away, probably is still small. So I'll unclick the pan button, make sure I'm on baby elephant, because it doesn't look like a full-sized elephant. And I'm going to go ahead and put the box around this one as well. So we'll make this nice and tight. Look at every single line of the box and make sure it's right on the edge of each piece. And now these two definitely look like adults. So I'm going to go back to adult here, and we're going to draw a box around this one. Get it as close as possible on all 4 sides. And then we'll do another one on this animal right here. All right, good. Now these ones look smaller. I'm going to pan a little bit just because I like annotating with the animals in the center of my screen. I'm going to switch back to baby elephant, take off the pan button, and we'll make this one as well. With any object, you want to be careful with some of the thinner or smaller pieces. It looks like this elephant's trunk goes out to here, so you want to make sure you see that and you include that as the farthest point. This is a little hard to see. So we'll move this in there, and then move this up to about there. And this one's a baby as well. Again, you want to make sure you get that trunk. Make this nice and tight. And finally, we have one more adult. I'm going to move it into the center. Click adult, remove the pan button. We'll go ahead and annotate this elephant as an adult elephant. That looks pretty good like that. Now, I can't remember if there's anything over to the right. Doesn't look like there is. So now these front elephants are all done. But you can see there's actually a bunch of elephants in the back here. For the purposes of this tutorial, I'm not going to do these elephants because I don't want to take too much time. But if you're seeing this in the test job, where we're asking you to do your best, you'll want to get all of these as well to the best of your ability. What you want to do is really show that you can annotate smaller elephants as well. There probably won't be much movement, so it should be pretty easy. You just do it once and kind of check to make sure that they're still good throughout the video. But you'll definitely want to do these as well. Again, for the purposes of this tutorial, I'm just going to do the front elephants in order to make things a little bit quicker for everybody. So now we're going to zoom back out, and you can see that we have all of our elephants boxed. I can actually remove the labels and you can kind of see it a little bit more cleanly. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4 babies and 4 adults. So I'll put the labels back on. And all I do now is I'm going to press next. And you can see that we're in frame 2 of 120 now. And the frames moved a little bit. So since this is the first one, I'm going to zoom in and we're going to pan. And we're just going to make sure they still look good. That looks good. These all look pretty good still, which is nice, which means when the elephants moved a little bit, the boxes, through machine learning, were able to move with them. That looks pretty good. So I'm going to zoom back out, and we'll do the next frame. And I'm just going to kind of keep an eye on everything. Again, you'll want to read the instructions to see exactly what sort of quality is required, but in general, you do want to make things just as neat as possible. So you can see that even though, we have to annotate 120 frames, which is a lot, we're actually already 10% done because we're on frame 12, even though we only did boxes in one video. So I'm going to move a little bit more here, see if things continue to look good. Everything looks good, which means, what this means is that the machine learning is doing a really good job on this video. There will definitely be times in videos, data where, you're going to have to edit things a lot more than this. But in this case, it looks like it's doing a pretty good job. Now here, it looks like it may not be picking up the tail very well, so I'm going to zoom in here. Yeah, see, the tail got moved out, so it just means that the machine learning predictions didn't do so great. I'm actually going to move back a couple because it looks like it went out maybe here. Now when I do this, I'll be able to go through this, and I'm going to have to see it adjusted. I didn't even do that, which is great. So it looks like it's doing a good job. I'll maybe move this out a little bit, just a tad there. Now I'm going to zoom back out, and we're going to continue watching, and you can see that after I told the tool, that the tail's out there, now it's doing a much better job at tracking that tail. Looks like maybe the tusk is coming out a little bit here. I'm going to zoom in, come over here. Yeah, not too much, but I can definitely adjust that a little bit. Adjust that there. Let's zoom back out. And we'll keep looking at everything, making sure everything's nice and neat. Now I'm a little concerned that maybe something's awful here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the labels and zoom in and see how everything looks. No, it looks pretty good. Maybe this is a little bit low here, so what I can do is remove the pan, click in here, and drag this up a little bit. It's hard to tell where this elephant's feet end, so it might be okay, but I'm just going to move it up a little bit. And it looks like it's a little high here as well, so I'll just make a little adjustment. Oh, and it's, yeah, this needed to be fixed a little bit. I'm glad I checked this. So we'll move this in, get this nice and neat on this elephant. Check everything else around here. Everything else looks pretty good. This one is a little bit long. Bring this back in here. Let's zoom back out, and then we'll keep moving. Let's get the labels back on. I'm also keeping an eye on this tail, making sure if the tail does come back in, we might have to move the box a bit as well, manually. Now we've got a problem here. This looks like this elephant has been moving, but not in necessarily a linear way, and the machine learning has had a little bit of trouble following it, and I didn't notice that. It looks like it started happening right, see how I'm going back? Right about there. So I'm going to need to follow this a little bit more, so I'm going to zoom in, drag over here. Let's get this nice and neat to start, and then we'll have to go slow for this one. I think because the elephant is turning, the machine learning prediction's having a little bit of trouble, although it did better there. Now it's doing much better. So all it took was fixing it right at the first one, and then it's done a much better job because it learns from that change you made. So it's not like you have to change it every single time. All right, let's just make sure this is nice and neat. And this looks like this one came off a little bit, so we should probably keep an eye on that one as well. There we go. Everything's looking good. Now I am going to zoom out a little bit because I don't want to lose track of the other elephants, which might be having some problems. Although they are looking pretty good here. Let me just take off the labels so I can see a little bit more clarity how everything looks. Everything looks pretty good. Everything's nice and neat. Let's get the labels back on and move forward. See if it continues to do pretty well here. I think I might move this a little bit back. It's off a tiny bit there and a tiny bit there. Everything else looks pretty good. Oops, let's see if we can get that. This one is still having the hardest time, probably because of the movement's a little bit less linear, straightforward. It's nice and neat. Now this tail seems to be moving in a little bit, so let's move that with that. Again, this elephant's definitely having a little bit of a harder time being tracked. This tail is still moving in a little, so I'll move that with it. Looks like it's coming off a little bit here as well. So you'll want to pay really close attention. I am going pretty quickly here just because I don't want to spend too much time just for the tutorial, but you'll really want to keep an eye on all the different elephants because you can see there are a couple places here where it's messed up a little. So we want to make sure we're really careful with this stuff. Move this one back in a little. This one could use some help on the back here. This one in the front. So there's definitely going to be some edits necessary through these, but a lot of it also is done for us. You can imagine if you were to do 56 individual pictures with, a bunch of elephants over and over, it would take a very long time. So this is doing pretty well here. Maybe fix this there. Everything else looks good. Fix this a little bit. Still not, oh, there it goes. Just a little bit delayed in the machine learning here, the predictions. Still keeping an eye on this tail. See, this tail did go back a little bit. move this back a little. That tail is definitely giving the technology a little bit of trouble, but that's okay. All it takes is a little bit of adjustment from us. An adjustment there. Maybe move this one back in a little bit. Oops, I grabbed the whole box. Let's see if I can adjust this right here. That looks pretty good. All right, and we're at 70 of 120, so we're moving along. Fix this. This elephant is moving its trunk a lot. You can see it's kind of curved, and the predictions are doing a decent job, but it definitely requires a little bit of assistance. Hard to tell where this elephant's feet end, but I think there's probably the right place. Make sure this is moved in. So this trunk is just continuing. Oh, see, I'm not being as patient as I should be. The machine learning does take a second to render, and then it will move the box in. All right, everything's looking okay over here as well. These elephants, because they're moving in such a straight pattern, it's doing pretty well. I am going to check on this adult elephant 3, though. So let's move in here. Yeah, see, this has gotten a little bit too big, so I'm going to move this back. Now, if this was not a tutorial, if this was really a real project, you definitely want to go back and kind of find out where this started and then fix it there. But again, I don't want to spend too much time on this stuff, so which is why I'm going a little bit sloppier than you might want to. And actually, something that's interesting is you can see there's actually some other elephants right here that were completely invisible to us before because they were hidden behind these elephants. So what I'm actually going to do is it looks like maybe they're both not fully grown. So I think they're probably babies. So I'm going to come in here and draw a new box. Looks like that's visible. Let's see. There's a little crowded here, but I think that one's to there. And then we'll make the other box and drag it in. Drag it in this way. And you don't want to guess where they are, right? So if you know, even though these elephants clearly go all the way to here, you know, because they're fully grown animals, or they're at least large animals, we're not going to try to guess, right? It's just until we can't see them anymore. So this one's probably in a little bit much, so I'll move this in. And now we've got a few more elephants to take care of here, so we'll zoom back out and see. So those are nice and tiny, but we'll keep an eye on them and make sure that as they become more visible, we continue to make their boxes nice and tight around them. So it seems to be doing pretty well here. Looks like this box needs to be brought. Looks like I need to undo the pen. Then I can drag this box, make it a little bit bigger. Over there. You can see a little bit better if you remove the labels. But one of the dangers of removing the labels is you want to make sure that you're always following the right object, right? So we have two boxes that are small right here. You don't want to accidentally take this box and move it over this animal, right? It's very important that the animal that you're tracking, the single box stays with that animal the whole time. So while we were doing that, it looks like there were some things that kind of got messed up here. Again, you want to be very careful about this in real jobs so that you're not just changing it, you know, 10 frames after it gets moved. But I'm not going to spend that much time on this here. This probably needs to be moved in a little bit. This tails, let's do it like that. Let's see, what else do we got over here? Is it just those two? Yeah, it's just these two, so make sure this is nice and adjusted. And we're at frame 84, so we're almost done here. All right, let's zoom back out. Everything's looking all right. All right, I'm going to move back in here and kind of check on things because it is a little bit hard to see. So we'll pan to get these in the center with the labels on so I know which ones I'm looking at. Looks like this baby elephant, which is called baby elephant 3. Could use a little bit of assistance here, so we'll get this baby nice and boxed. Now I'm going to remove the labels because I really can't see very well here. It looks like, yeah, this one needs to be a little bit bigger. This one looks okay, maybe a little bit bigger there. And these elephants look pretty well boxed. Maybe this one's foot needs to be fixed a little. Let's get this foot there. That looks pretty good. Zoom back out. Labels back on. And we'll move along here. Looks like the tail kind of came in on this one, so I'm going to go over here Oops, sorry. Get this here and see it, the tail moved in. So there was a point where that tail was way out, but it moved in quickly, and now we need to catch it up here. So you'll want to normally go back, right? So you'll go back to where it kind of messed up, which looks like it was way back here. So I missed that. So right there, we probably want to start fixing it, right? I didn't notice it, which would be not good for the data, because you want to, right when things start to get a little bit off, you want to make sure that you're following it correctly. So it does take a lot of care, right? There's a lot of elephants we're taking care of here. We want to make sure that we continue to keep them boxed as well as possible throughout, and not just, 5 or 6 frames after we notice. All right. Looks like now the predictions are doing a little bit better. Help this one out a little bit more. All right, let's get back out to the main area. We'll kind of move along here, keep an eye on everything. You notice these ones I've basically not touched. So they're very flat, they're moving very straight, and in this case, the machine learning predictions are doing really well. These ones are kind of moving through water, so their movements are a little bit less predictable, which makes things harder. And then this stuff is difficult just because of the amount of elephants that are in there. So I'm going to move along here, do a little zoom, get this centered, and see if I need to do anything. It's hard to tell. This looks pretty good. That looks like about the elephant, and then this one's here. And then everything else looks pretty solid. This one could be moved out a little bit. So we'll drag that out to there. It does look like, even though this foot goes back, maybe not all the way back, so we'll kind of move it in like that. It could use a little bit of lift right there. Great. All right. I'm going to pay attention to these a little bit longer and zoom in with this stuff here. This needs to be fixed. Oops. Again, it did fix itself. You just have to kind of wait a second once in a while to make sure that it can make that change for you. Looks like the tail of this elephant may be out here. It's hard to see. No, I don't think that's the tail. I think that's just some leaves or something. This one needs to be fixed. All right, we're almost to the end here. Looks like this elephant here is actually visible all the way to there now. This one may be a little bit longer as well. Fix this guy. Let's go check out the other ones on the other. Well, we'll quickly look here. These have been doing well the whole time. Yes, even this could use a little bit of so a little bit of extra assistance here. We'll move that there. Maybe move this one like that. Make sure the tusk is fully annotated. So this looks pretty good. All right, let's move over to the left and see how these ones are doing. This looks like a little bit high up here, so we'll go ahead and just drop this down. There is an ear all the way up to there, but it's still a little bit high, so I'll drop that down there. The tail's out to about there. And then let's check out this one. This one definitely needs some help. You can see the trunk's out. So again, I know I've been saying this a lot, but you'll want to go back. Normally you'll want to go all the way back to where it started to get off, and that's where you'll want to start the fix. And normally it will then fix itself, so it's not like you have to fix it in 20 more frames. Usually the machine learning will understand that change, and then the frames that follow, it'll already be fixed or pretty close to fixed. All right, let's zoom back out. Got 12 more frames. Let's see how we do. Everything's looking pretty good here. Let's go ahead and zoom in. Just got a couple more frames, but I do want to, all the way to the end, you want to make sure that you're being really careful here. Yeah, see this elephant you can see a little bit more now. It's having a hard time, you can imagine. I mean, there's a lot of elephant in this little area, and it can be difficult to kind of differentiate between all the different elephants, even for humans, let alone for a machine. So it's good to have a mix of humans and machines, working together in order to be able to do this. I've been really messing up this box. You see how much I had to change that? I was not paying attention very well to that. So let's actually go back, kind of see where that started. So I'm going back through frames, trying to figure out what went wrong here. And it looks like about there it was looking good. Adjusted a little bit, but then it really becomes hidden behind this larger elephant here. So I want to make sure that when it lifts its leg, I think is where that big change is. So I need to move that there, move this here. Then hopefully that change will be followed well by the algorithm, but see, it is having a hard time following this upward, which we're going to need to make sure we follow it upward because the elephant is, moving out of the box. That looks good. I want to lift this up. So this gets a little tricky here because the lowest point on this elephant is right here, but it's only a couple pixels. So we just want to make sure that we've followed this nice. So then that had a really hard time there. For some reason it jumped back out. That may have been me. It may have been because I did that with it, but we'll want to make sure that that gets moved in there. Now see, the machine learning did a really good job taking the big box that I had placed and moving it correctly. So now it's looking good. Although, technically, since that leg disappeared, we'll want to move it up here. So let's actually move back. So that leg disappears there, and once that leg disappears, the lowest point visible on the elephant is way up here, right? So we actually need to move it up. All right. Now the machine learning is doing a good job. So we were at, I think, 17 or 18, so now we can move back out now that that's been fixed, and we'll walk through these last couple frames, fix a couple little things as we go, and we're done. So we can play it back slowly. So if I drag this thing all the way to the left here, I can press play, and it will very slowly go through, which is kind of exciting. You can see all the different movements, both from machines and humans. Or if we want to see it fast, we can actually drag it. So I'll bring it to the front here, and then I'll drag it here, and it's like the video is actually playing. And you can see that elephants are walking in this video. Oops, sorry about that. Let's do that again from the very beginning just so we can see it. So just slowly move it. You can see, pretty amazing, all the boxes resizing and moving along to the right. Especially this elephant, you can see that baby elephant one right here. There's so many movements. If I go back, that's why that took a little bit more human, because of how much movement there was. Whereas these two elephants, we almost didn't have to touch, which was really nice and saves us a lot of time.